Good morning. Welcome back to the Devar Bible Translation, where in this video I want to talk about the specially of 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 10. And the specially is how the King James translates the Greek word here, where if we click, we see it's an adverb, malista. And of course, adverbs modify verbs. And in the definition, here's the concept. Most of all, it's a position of superiority of orders. So this is conceptually what's being communicated in the verse. We're here, notice in the Devar, the emphasis is most, where the F-O-R-E is in italics. So, because again, this is according to orders, which I'll show you in a minute. So again, it's an adverb and it's modifying verbs. So the verbs here would be wrestle, which is faith. We wrestle in faith. Tire ourselves. That's a verb. Tire, wrestle, expectancy. That's a verb. So all of these verbs have a direct relationship to this position of those faithing. Foremost of those faithing. Which brings us to Philippians 1:23, where the context of uploosened here points to the same context of Luke 12:36, according to the disappeared first watch time, which is the first order of coming into the wedding feasts. So this is the context of 1 Timothy 4:10, where notice here, the word more is from malan. Okay, and if we look at this word, it's also an adverb in the comparative of the same as malista. 1 Timothy 4:10, foremost of the faithing, which the uploosen, analuo, is comparatively much more malan. Is it better? Because it's the first order to come into the wedding feasts. According to the watch time orders here, each in his own order, 1 Corinthians 15:23, where the third occurrence of uploosen here in 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 6, notice the ideal wrestle, I have wrestled. Faithing, I have guarded. So again, this all points back to 1 Timothy 4:10. For towards this we tire ourselves and wrestle, since we have taken expectancy. All these are verbs: tire, wrestle, expectancy, on account of the living God, who is the save guardian of all human, foremost, most in the priority position of rank, foremost of the faithing, which the foremost is much more better, malan, Philippians 1:23, a greater degree, much, by far, etc., emphatically much more better, which is the uploosening. Again, 2 Timothy 4:6, where if we back up to chapter 2, verse 6, Paul says, if anyone athletes, he is not crowned unless he athletes law accordingly to the land worker, tiring himself, wrestling in the faithing. It is binding before, yea, formerly, to partake of the fruits, which is a harvest. It's the taking of the reward, Aeonian life, according to each in his own order. Again, 1 Corinthians 15:23. Those who are of Christ in his presence, his parousia, each in his own order, which have a direct relationship to the watch times of Luke chapter 12, verse 38. Which the first disappeared are those who are going away out of the wedding because they come in first according to uploosen. the emphatically malon in relationship to the foremost. So this is what Paul is talking about in 1 Timothy 4:10. Christ as the safeguardian of the body will save each according to his own order, where Paul is referring to the foremost of the faithing, because others will have to come into the faithing each according to their own order, where we actually see 3 orders of faith. The large shield of the faithing would, of course, concern those foremost of the faithing. In Matthew chapter 25, concerning the wedding feasts, where those who come in and prepared, here is midnight, which is the conclusionary second watch time of Luke 12:38. It's the second order, where following that parable is the parable of the talents, where they're told, well done, you good and faithing slave. You were faithing upon little. So here we have little faithing in contrast to large faithing, where then if we go to the parable of the minas, we read, you have become faithing in the least. So we have large, little, and least. These would not be the foremost of the faithing into the safeguarding. They will be last, least. Specifically, my least brothers, Matthew 25:40, where then the cursed who are cut off are not faithing. They will not come into safeguarding, into the allotment of sons of God. That's what the curse is. So, my least brothers, they're not tiring and wrestling in the faith according to the foremost of those faithing. Where if we go to the next chapter, actually, chapter 5, verse 12, Paul writes, as ones having the judgment that they repudiate the foremost faithing, who would be probably pointing to the last of the faithing, the least of the faithing.